They thought Emily Carter was just the girl with the broken watch and the empty wallet. They never saw the dust she learned to breathe. They never knew who taught her to count the wind. One hostage, one town, one impossible shot, and the truth would ring louder than the rifle. The watch on Emily's wrist didn't tick. The glass was spidered. The hands were stuck at 3:11. She wore it anyway. She counted time with breath instead. 4 in, 4 hold. 4 out. It was cheaper. It never broke. The diner smelled like burned coffee and rain that refused to fall. The road outside was dust from end to end, like the whole town had been erased and drawn again in chalk. She worked the morning shift, then the night shift when Mrs. Dalrymple's knees swelled. Tips clinked in an empty wallet. Nothing dulled the sound. Rowan Hale took his eggs over easy and silence by the window. People called him the man from nowhere. He called her kid for a long time until he didn't. He taught her to hold a glass so it didn't shake when fear tried to push. He taught her that wind has edges. He taught her to look between things, not at them. No one knew that part. They knew he limped. They made stories from that. When he paid, he folded the bills with sharp corners. "Keep your elbows in," he said once, watching her pour coffee like it was a drill. "I'm not holding a gun," she teased. "Everything is a trigger if you do it wrong," he said, not smiling. The mill at the edge of town had been empty for years, the gears locked in rust the color of dried blood. Now trucks came at night, no logos, no plates you could read. Sheriff Rusk said it was inventory for a new business. He said prosperity was coming by morning if they got out of its way. Prosperity wore black boots and never tipped. Emily lifted trays and listened. People talk when they're tired of pretending they aren't afraid. She learned the names they didn't say. One of them was Rowan's. "You think he's part of it?" Lila asked, twirling the straw in her Coke so hard it squealed. "Rowan's old," Emily said. "Old is the perfect age for secrets," Lila said and grinned too big. The watch face flashed in the neon reflection. 3:11 again. The hour fear learned to whisper. She pushed the wallet deeper into her apron. It felt like carrying a hole. Near midnight, the road started humming. You can tell the weight of a vehicle by its song. These were heavy. These were men who liked the sound the road made when it lost. The diner's lights went out in a blink. Then came the second sound, single and far, like thunder that changed its mind. A shot, Emily thought. A long one. Her breath caught in the number 4. 2 minutes later, a boy ran in, face white. "They grabbed Mr. Hale," he gasped. "At the water tower." Emily didn't ask for the check. She didn't tell Lila to lock the door. She didn't look at the watch. She ran. At the edge of town, the dust swallowed her. The moon showed her the tower's bones. There was no Rowan. Only a canvas envelope hung on a rung, swinging. Her name in block letters. Inside, a note in tight handwriting. 5 words. "If I'm gone, look east." She looked. The mill windows were black squares cut in the night, and behind one, a shape moved like a hand raising a curtain. Then the red dot found her chest. She dropped. The dot slid off her shirt and went hunting for a heart it could prove. Gravel bit her palms. The road tasted like old nails. Rowan's note crinkled in her fist. His voice rose from memory, dry as winter. "Count the wind by what it moves, not by what you feel." She crawled to the shadow of the tank leg. The steel was cold. It smelled like rain that changed its mind. Her watch said 3:11 like it always did. Time can lie. Breath doesn't. The envelope held more than paper. Velcro tore in the night, soft, apologetic. Black foam, precision cut. A compact rifle broken into quiet pieces that wanted each other back. Her throat closed and then opened again. "I can't," she told the air. "You already did," Rowan answered in her head from another year, another hill. He had put a penny on a fence post and told her to make it ring without breaking it. She laughed. He didn't. "Not everything strong must shatter," he said. He was a good liar when he pretended to be ordinary. He was a better truth when he was not. She clicked the pieces together with shaking fingers. Bolt like a zipper pulled against weather. Scope like a small, careful eye, no magazine. One round sat in a cloth pocket, its brass dull, its tip painted with a thin red ring. A second note under it, 3 lines written like a map no one else could read. One shot. One proof. Not a kill if you can help it. They'll believe the echo. She thought of the men at the mill, of Sheriff Rusk's polished smile, of Lila's laugh that always sounded like it might fall and break. She thought of how people need stories and how easy it is to give them the wrong one. She slotted the cartridge. Metal kissed metal in a promise. She needed a height. The water tower looked down on everything but the sky. She climbed slow, keeping her body small, her breath smaller. At the platform, she flattened herself and let the wind introduce itself. It came out of the wheat to the north, old and steady. The mill wore its shadows like a suit tailored for menace. Light leaked through a broken pane. In that split square, she saw Rowan for a breath, just enough to mark shape and angle. Hands behind his back, a mouth that could tell stories, quiet. A man beside him with a flashlight and a pistol that liked being held. Her throat forgot how to swallow. The pistol man stepped away. Another shape took his place, hat brim, star on a vest, Sheriff Rusk, she thought, and then made herself stop thinking at all. The crosshairs shook until they didn't. Breath in, hold. Wind ticked the grass below like a metronome only she could hear. She skimmed the crosshair past a glass panel, 2 windows left of Rowan. Then back, then 2 more left. Not a kill if you can help it. What did help look like? Something moved near the mill door. Lila, hands zip-tied, hair like a signal flag. Emily's spine went cold and hot at the same time. A third man dragged a 4th shape across the floor. Small, bare feet knocking against boards. Child trying to be brave. Everything wanted to rush. Rowan's voice made the seconds walk instead. Kid, when you're ready, time will listen to you. She watched the hat brim tilt toward Rowan's face. The pistol man laughed at something that was not funny in any language. The scope glass breathed. The road below held its dust like a secret. Her wallet in her pocket felt like a stone she couldn't afford. She lined the crosshair on a thin strip of rope that cut Rowan's silhouette at the wrists. It quivered in the draft from an unseen fan. 1 shot. 1 proof. The world leaned in to hear. A siren screamed somewhere behind her. She flinched, and the red dot found her again. The first instinct is to run. The second is to pretend you were already running. She rolled right, metal ladder biting her ribs, scope glass whispering against steel. A bullet chewed paint from the rail a breath after she moved. It sang a terrible short song. Someone had eyes on the tower. Someone knew where to put fear. She left the platform on the wrong side of caution and slid down rungs 3 at a time, boots searching air that didn't want them. Her broken watch kissed the ladder and cracked again. The spidered glass caught a star. At the bottom, she crouched in thorny weeds that were more honest than most people she knew. The world smelled like gun oil and sap. Not a kill, she whispered to the empty wallet in her pocket, like it could loan her courage. Not a kill, the wallet answered by being light. The road to the mill was both short and endless. She took the long way, skirting fences and irrigation ditches, counting the wind by the leaves it bothered. She built a map in her head the way Rowan had taught her. Edges, angles, exits. Not the kind you draw. The kind you survive. Halfway there, the night held its breath. So did she. Headlights spilled across the fields, lazy and slow. A cruiser rolled to a stop beside her ditch. Door hinges that got oiled too often. Boots that never learned humility climbed out. Sheriff Rusk leaned on the rail fence like a man in a painting of a hero. "Miss Carter," he said to the dark. He didn't look at her because he didn't need to. "You out for a walk or a war?" She stayed small and quiet. Feral quiet. "The kind that keeps you on the earth. See," he said. "We got a mess. Outsiders bringing trouble. Folks disappearing. Cargo nobody ordered. And then there's you with your curiosity." He took a tin star from his pocket and polished it with his thumb, like he wanted it to shine for somebody not here. "You think Rowan Hale is the problem? Or maybe you think he's the answer." He smiled where she couldn't see it. "I think he's neither. I think he's bait." Her mouth dried until it felt made of paper. 3 words and 1 lesson worked through the brittle Rowan's handwriting. 1 shot, Rowan's voice. "Don't let them name your fear for you," Rusk's radio hissed. A voice said, "Stage is set." He said, "Copy," like the word was a coin he didn't mind giving away. He turned his head, listening to something else in the night, something with legs. "I like you, Miss Carter," he said. "You carry yourself like truth even when you're empty." The empty wallet pressed her hip bone like an accusation. "Go home," he said at last, friendly like a noose. "Lock your door. Leave the brave work to men who are paid to fail at it." He climbed in. The cruiser drifted back to the mill like it was being pulled by a string only he could see. Emily waited until his lights were gone. The ditch water licked her boot. She touched the broken watch. 3:11 again. The hour that took her father in a crash on a dusty road, while a truck didn't brake and no one proved anything. She didn't go home. She went to the South Berm and found a knoll that watched the mill with one patient eye. She positioned the rifle on a rotting fence post and used her empty wallet to shim the stock. It steadied the sight like a promise that cost everything. Inside the mill, figures moved. Rusk's hat brim, Lila's braid, the child sat on a crate like a parcel no one claimed. Rowan on his knees, head bowed, hands roped back. A loudspeaker cracked to life and turned the air mean. "Friends," Rusk said, his voice stretched by tin and wire. "A demonstration." Emily aligned the crosshair with a knot in the rope. Wind tugged the weeds. The fan in the ceiling turned. The rope quivered like a nerve. The world narrowed, until it was one thread in one window in one building in one town. A hand reached for a lever near the ceiling, industrial, rusted, connected to something she couldn't see. She took in 4, held 4. "Let 4 go." Her finger found pressure. Then headlights bloomed behind her without sound. "Drop it, Emily," a voice said. Too close, she didn't. The first rule Rowan gave her had no numbers in it. "Live first," he said. "Then be right." Behind her, someone worked the action of a rifle like they were handing her a reason to die. She didn't look. Eyes reveal more than mouths. "You're pointing a gun at a county building," Deputy Cale said. He had a laugh like a door that won't shut. "Against the law." "There is no law in there," she said, and was surprised at the iron in her own voice. "You'll come stand up now," Cale said. "You'll hand me that toy. We'll tell folks a story where you made a mistake and we saved you from it." He stepped closer. She smelled mint and metal. The barrel of his rifle prodded the back of her jacket. He was a man who trusted safeties more than he should. She rolled left hard, dragging the rifle with her. Cale fired. Dirt jumped. The world blinked white and then came back different. She kicked his knee. It made a sound like a dry branch. He folded but didn't break. She slid downslope, hugging the ground like she meant to become it. Bullets unzippered weeds above her spine. She kept moving until the ditch took her in, muddy and welcome. Cale cursed and fired and missed again, then stopped when his radio snapped. "Not here, you idiot." Silence. Except for the fan in the mill and the wind teaching the wheat to bow. Emily wiped mud from the scope with the back of her wrist. The broken watch smeared a brown crescent across its face. The hand still pointed at the hour grief learned to stand up. A voice slipped from the mill's loudspeaker again. "Bring the old man up," Rusk said, church soft. "Let everybody see who taught the girl to play soldier." They dragged Rowan to the high catwalk like a symbol, hung where all eyes must go. His mouth bled. His eyes didn't beg. That was the worst part. He wasn't asking anything of her. He was offering his life as if it were a decent trade. "Make your choice, kid," he had told her once when she split a playing card at 40 yards. "Every shot is a choice to live with later." The crosshair slid to the rope again. Her pulse tried to push it off. She pushed back. "Count," Rowan's voice said in her head, steady as shade. "Count, then decide." The wind leaned to the south. The fan swung and creaked. The rope danced like it had a fever. Below, Lila whispered something to the child. Courage shaped itself in small mouths. "Last call," Rusk said. "You want to be a hero, sweetheart?" "Show me." A truck thrummed near Emily's ditch. Another cruiser settled on its shocks. Cale limped and swore and posted up where he could make her regret breathing. The road was still dust. The town was still pretending to sleep. She thumbed back the bolt to feel the round say, "I'm here." One shot. One proof. Not a kill if you can help it. She drew the crosshair one hair off the rope to the metal ring that held it. If she split the ring, the rope would fall slack. If she missed by a whisper, Rowan would hang by his shoulders and something would tear that didn't heal. In. Hold. A siren rose in the wrong direction. Cale's muzzle swung. Her skin felt its shadow. She exhaled into the trigger, and a small hand reached up for Rowan's sleeve. Children do reckless math. They divide danger by love and always accept the remainder. The boy on the crate had wriggled free enough to stand. He reached for Rowan like a lighthouse reaches for ships. If Emily fired at the ring now, and it shattered ugly, a shard could find the child. If she waited, they would put a bullet in Rowan for the audience. She pulled the shot, not off. Over. Scope floated to the pulley above the ring, old iron with a bite mark of rust. If she could jam the wheel, the rope might slack without whiplash. Wind 6 left, she thought. Rowan always said the wheat will tell you faster than the vein on the barn. The wheat bowed in agreement. She set the crosshair not on metal, but on the breeze around it. That private place where the wind shows its teeth. She slid her empty wallet further under the stock. It stabilized truth. The broken watch bit her skin, asking for blood as proof she was there. Now, Rowan would say when her mind got too loud. And quiet it went. She took up the weight on the trigger. 2 pounds, then 1. Then nothing at all. The rifle coughed flame you could barely hear. The bullet went to find out if the world would keep its promises. It struck iron where age had thinned it. The pulley jammed. The rope went limp. Rowan fell forward, not down. The boy tumbled into his lap, alive enough to cry. The mill erupted. Men shouted because they preferred the sound of power to the sound of surprise. Cale swore like grammar was dead and fired blind into the ditch. A round cracked a rock an inch from Emily's ear. Stone dust kissed her hair. Rusk's head snapped up toward the south berm. He couldn't see her. He could smell disobedience. The loudspeaker squealed. "Find her," he said, tender as a father with a lie. Emily cycled the bolt by touch, habit. But the chamber was empty. Rowan had sent 1 round for the truth and no more. She could purse her lips and curse him for that. Or she could understand 1 shot. 1 proof. The rest was what people did with the echo. On the catwalk, Rowan shoved the boy behind a beam and stood. His shoulders squared. He looked straight at the loudspeaker as if it were a friend who needed correction. "You talk big, Rusk," he called, his voice unamplified and clean. "You step on little people to feel tall." Rusk raised his pistol and smiled. He liked the picture of himself. Rowan did something small with his hands and the rope came free, like it had decided it owed him. He lifted it, looped it, tossed it. It landed on a lever near the wall. He yanked. Sparks fell like stung bees. Somewhere deep, a conveyor belt woke and shoved crates. They tumbled and split. White bricks kissed daylight and cracked to powder. Not flour, not anything you'd bake. A gasp rose from the floor. Lila saw what it was and said a word that could shiver a church. "County prosperity," she hissed. Phones came up like sunflowers to the light. Even fear wants something to post. Rusk swung his pistol toward the crowd on the floor. Civilians, employees, people who had believed. "Put those away," he said softly. "Put them—" A hand shot out of the cluster, brown and quick. It snatched his radio and mashed the transmit. His last words spilled onto channels the truckers loved and the farmers kept open in their barns. "Put those away," he said again, then, clipped and savage. "Cale, kill the source on the berm. The barn radios heard it. The rigs heard it. The cruisers on the edge of town heard it. Emily heard it inside her bones. Echo does the work when you've got no more metal to throw." She slid backward on her elbows until the ditch held her completely. Cale moved along the fence line, bleeding pride and knee. He would be fast despite pain. Men like him always are. She stood up in the open. Sometimes you show yourself so the wrong man aims at you, and the right people learn where the rot is. "Cale," she shouted. "How's your aim when it matters?" He turned and grinned with all the wrong teeth. "Ask your mentor," he said and raised his rifle. The truckers on. Channel 19 went quiet to hear the next sound. Emily lifted the broken watch and held it up like a coin no one could spend. Twice, 311, she said to nobody and everyone, and, from the far side of the field, a shot came that wasn't hers. Cale jerked and dropped like someone cut his strings. A second later, the report rolled over the field. Deep, patient, right on time. The crowd at the mill froze. Then the bravest moved. The boy clung to Rowan's shirt. Lila grabbed a box cutter from a crate and became a person who had been waiting her whole life to be useful. Rusk tried to triangulate the sound with anger and failed. He grabbed Lila by the hair and pressed the muzzle to her cheek. "You want a martyr?" he said to the space where courage grows. "I'll make one you won't forget." Emily didn't have a second round. She had a voice that could carry if she gave it permission. "Rusk," she shouted, the name tearing her throat like it had barbs. "Channel 19 heard you." Somebody in a barn keyed a mic and said, "We did." "Sheriff." Somebody else on County FM patched the feed because this is what towns do when they remember they have hands. Phone cameras watched Rusk the way summer watches rain. He blinked. He had never been this visible. Rowan leaned into the boy, chin to crown, cheek to hair. "Breathe," he said, "because that's what you give a child when you can't offer guarantees." The broken watch burned against Emily's wrist. Time had finally arrived and asked to be let in. Her empty wallet pushed a bruise into her hip bone. It felt like a signature. A long, slow engine note rolled from the North Road. 3 semis in a line, chrome shining under dust, pulled nose to nose in front of the mill gates. Men in caps climbed out slow. One had a camo hat with a turkey feather.